as a cat. Chrissy is here with Dr. Anne, my very, very dear friend Anne Simpson, who lives in New Zealand. She's born in the US, but she lives in Auckland, New Zealand. And Anne is just such one of the most, not only one of the dearest friends I've ever come across. She is one of the most amazing minds I've ever come across.
Thank you.
And trust me, I have one of those in my family.
Cool. Awesome.
It's hard to beat. You beat my Uncle John, darling. Sorry, Uncle John. This is a discussion, so we're not going to be doing any tarot or anything. But up in the first comment up there, I have posted the link to Anne's video, which led to this because I finally got a chance to catch up with a couple of more of Anne's little videos, and they're usually somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes long.
Oh yeah, they aren't long.
Called it quantum entanglement, and it blew my mind. And honestly, I'm still riding the high from it.
Cool.
And she's so wonderful at explaining things. And one of the key things got from that is the space between two people. And yes, of course, there's buildings and there's structures and there's trees and there's forest, but there's still, I have no idea how much more space is above that between two people. And it all seemed empty. But that's great, Shelby. You got a life. So, yeah. But it's not empty.
No, it's not. Surprise, surprise.
Anne was saying, and I won't go into too much detail because please go and watch a video, that even though space seems empty, it is actually full. So we've got some empty space here in front of me, right? Some empty space here in front of me, but it is actually full of neutrons, microns, atoms, all sorts of things. And they all collide and touch each other and stuff and come together. And, I finally found a cool, hubby bought me the optic fiber lamp at Christmas. So
I love it.
And how they all touch each other and how they take vibrations from one person to another and how it connects us, even though we think there's empty space in between us. And it can be true if you're sitting 6 inches from somebody, but not touching, to if you're sitting on the other side of the world from somebody, if you're on the other side of the universe. And the other thing she said that absolutely blew my mind, and I had heard of this very faintly back in, yes, I've got a Bachelor of Science and all that, and the geoscience stuff, but I'm not a physicist. But anyway, she was, and I had heard of this before, and it was like 2 little neutrons, microns, Astro Boys or whatever.
The smallest unit you can think, yeah.
The smallest little, nano things can be sitting next to each other, and they can start swirling in synchronicity. I know these aren't exactly in sync, okay, but this is me we're talking about. And as they get further and further apart, they keep in sync, so they can end up across the universe from each other and still be spinning in perfect time to each other. And I'm like, wow, where's my Pink Floyd? So, I'm going to watch it again and have Shine On You Crazy Diamond playing in the background.
You're so awesome.
And it was so fascinating. So, Anne, please, my darling, why don't you fill Shelby on and a couple of other people as well? So why don't you fill these guys in on who you are and what you do? And what makes your wonderful brain tick?
I don't know about that. My husband and kids will be like, okay, not again, Mom. But anyway, so yeah, hey everyone, I'm Ann, Dr. Ann. I like to just say that. Where I work, we just don't even use a doctor title, even though in the States it would be more, or even the word professor, they just call me Ann where I work. But yeah, so I live in New Zealand for about 23, 24 years. And I have always been a bit of a nerd. So there's a spiritual side of me and an academic side. So the spiritual side of me has seen, like when my father passed over, I knew in that moment, because I was with him in that amazing moment when he crossed into the other world, that there was something there. And I'm feeling, he's actually with me right now. I'm just getting buzzed right now. I can feel it on my face and my hands. I've also had some experiences when I was younger that I couldn't explain. I meditate, I started meditating during COVID, and all of a sudden this world just went, especially when I finished and submitted my doctoral thesis. I think my guides were holding back on the spirituality bit, right? But as I was writing my thesis, yeah. So how I got into this entanglement stuff, so I'm what they call an educationalist. Okay, my doctorate's in education, but I was looking at learning environments, and on top of that, learning dialogue. So how do you teach people how to learn? And I started looking at these different theories, all right? So I didn't know I was going to get into this whole space thing and trying to understand quantum this and quantum that and Lord knows what. But anyway, I did. So I ended up using two theories, and so it was quite unique for my thesis to use an interdisciplinary thesis. So take two schools of thoughts and combine them. So I was an outlier there already, but I'm kind of used to that. and then I got into entanglement theory. Now there's lots of different entanglement theories, and there's a whole physics side. There's a whole world of archaeology around entanglement, which is kind of what I chose. When people come into a problem, they build new walls to handle the real, fire, or in the olden days. So this fella named Dr. Ian Hodder came up with this theory of entanglement theory. But while I was researching it, trying to learn about it, I came into understanding and learning and seeking more information on and about quantum entanglement, quantum mechanics, quantum physics. Now, keep in mind, you guys, I am not the best person at mathematics. Don't ask me to add stuff. I wasn't that great when I took physics in high school. Okay, and that's kind of where it ended. But it's like, run. So, after all that was done, so I kept kind of pursuing this and understanding it, because I wanted to understand, how could I experience and see these spiritual things and feel them and sense them, and be an academic at the same time, which is all about logic, methods, reason, observable and measurable data. Well, if other people can't observe what's going on in my brain, well, then is it really measurable or not? And in the science world currently, no, unless they do some kind of weird brain mapping thing, which they've done with some psychics and whatnot. But so I got to the quantum and understanding it. And so the whole quantum thing, and to distill it as an umbrella term, science is beginning to find a way mathematically through the different physics, quantum mechanics, quantum physics, quantum, entanglement, to mathematically explore and explain everything that is outside and beyond 3D, meaning our human experience. You can see, we know we can hear, we know CD players create sound waves and we can hear them and we can enjoy music, right? Or your iPod or iPad or your Netflix or whatever, right? The science is now beginning to understand in a quantum level that, hey, these bad vibes I get off of that scary person across the street there, we are actually interconnected, and somehow in that vibey space, or that spiritual space, this is what the science is beginning to connect. Now, there is a gentleman named Stefan Schwartz who's written a lot of books on this, and he's done some really cool research. He argues that the whole quantum experience is right here in front of us right now. If you call on somebody who's passed over, hey, Sherry, how are you? And so what was I saying? So yeah, so Stephen Schwartz was saying it's all here. It's just that we aren't accessing it because we aren't being in tune with it and connecting with it through, like yogis do it, or when you get in a deep meditative state and try to connect to the ether, or what Tesla was doing when he was trying to connect to energy in the universe to create universal energy free for everybody, right?
Yep.
So the thing that Christy was describing was this very famous experiment called the double slit experiment. And basically they took this very controlled environment, added a bunch of atoms, protons, whatever that smallest matter unit. They found instead of going straight through the hole, if it was directly led at it, some of those particles bent and deviated from their trajectory. And science couldn't figure out why. That deviation, I know it's weird for us 3D people to get it, but that deviation is part of the quantum realm. It just knew to do that. Okay? It doesn't mean it's a thinking, living biological entity. I don't even begin to describe or understand completely the complexities of that, but that was one of the first significant studies, which have led to a multitude of studies. And no doubt research like at the CERN, circular, what's it called? CERN. It's not a linear accelerator, it's a circle one in CERN in Geneva, Switzerland. They're doing research on it where they're throwing particles at each other and all that kind of crazy stuff. They have a linear accelerator at Stanford University. I know that. And I'm sure they're over Australia and other places too. So that's what's happening, guys.
Over Australia, and come on.
Well, maybe the Aussies come over to the States or visit and do some research. I don't know.
I have to say, you missed one vital quantum.
Which quantum was that?
Quantum of solace.
I
tell you what, if I could just magically reach out through the ether and touch those abs, I'd be a happy woman.
Yes, exactly.
Example. He's over there. I'm over there.
Over here.
Ooh, and it all goes through. And then he goes, I'm touching him. And he's going, whoa, what was that?
Well, then let's go into our little sciencey bit, right? I want you to imagine, everybody, this is space.
Yep.
Okay. Meaning a bunch of points in space, right, that appear as a line just for ease of use, right? But space is all around us. But if you were to take kind of a bird's eye, like straight view, like looking over your field or paddock or something. All right. So if I take this rock, so this space between here and here from one side to the other is pretty long. But if I put something heavy in between it, it bends it and makes the space between the two ends closer. That's what they're doing with the quantum stuff, with quantum communication into space. I read some stuff, and there's actually some stuff that's been released. The quantum travel, the wormhole stuff, that's what it is. And they figured it. There's some brains, man, in the world. I'm just trying to get my head around it so I can understand why I experience this spiritual stuff on top of being an academic, in which I'm in a world that if I got found out, there's no way I would get a job teaching ever, because it's so old school, which is I find quite interesting. So that's okay. I'm an adjunct faculty member, so
very brave to come out. But I'll tell you, it is just such a fascinating subject. But it's so easy to see. I just got the picture of one way in which anyone can have a go at that experiment, and get a sheet and put two chairs next to each other, two sets of two chairs next to each other, a few feet apart, drape a sheet over it and make it nice and tight, weigh it down if you have to or something, and then drop things of different sizes at different points and see where they meet. And I just would do that over and over again and see what how many times.
Exactly.
I mean, I love that idea. I'm not going to do it because our house is chaotic enough.
Same. But, I couldn't handle it.
James couldn't. No, he still hasn't used our new washing machine.
Awesome.
After it was all put in
Yeah.
and set up because we're both too scared.
Mm.
Look, does anybody have a question for Anne about
Yeah, or anything, or any points?
anyone have an experience where they felt like that experience, and I know the experience you mean, it's like you're being touched by somebody who you know is physically alive, but you know it's physically a long distance away, and whether it's thought or action. Like if I go, like, you know, when they do that classic blow a kiss thing,
Yeah.
and the person goes, oh,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
sort of thing. Has anyone had that sort of experience? I mean, I Celtic seer,
Hey.
and because there's so many examples of what you're saying, just
Oh
in
yeah.
movies and all that, like that classic. The one I love is if you've not seen Robin Hood Men in Tights, which is a Mel Brooks film.
Yeah, it's funny. I've seen it. Yeah.
Maid Marian has got her
Chastity belt, is that
her
it?
chastity belt, and also her chaperone.
Yes, her
Like
chaperone.
Harry always, he goes and blows a kiss, and she's like, and the chaperone goes, ah, 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 and catches it. Get a smack her on the lips from a distance.
That's funny.
If you add a particle, does it change the space relationship of the other particles, causing some to stray away? That's a really good question, Shelby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon I would say yes. It depends on the environment. I mean, so think about that. You've got so many factors happening there, but I would say yes, it would, because we're getting bombarded by particles all the time, right? Some people actually say, you know, skin cancers are caused by the sun because of all that radiation, right? And the particles, and that the sun ray is not just a clean ray that comes down. It's a band of rays. Like you got gamma, and they've isolated which ray is the one that causes cancer. But yeah, I would say based on that logic that comes out of my wee head, my mind.
This is my little Zen garden. This lives on my desk.
That's cool.
And it's got some white and black sand. It's got some rocks. It's got some of my crystal collection. It's got little Buddha and stuff. But if I pick up some of the sand and put it into, and okay, it's a bit too small to see with the sand. So I'm going to use one of the larger rocks. Okay, and I'm going to smooth a bit out. Move this one. Hang on a minute. Smooth a little bit out. This is fun. I don't know if you guys like this or not, but doing some little experiments. I had no idea when we started, and Anne she came with a little experiment, and I came with my lamp, and it's like, same idea. So anyway, when I drop this larger crystal into the sand, everything moves out from it. So not just, you know, but all of the little grains move out. And it's the same with the rocks here too. So we've got some nice rocks here that are larger, probably easier to see it with. And let's have a look at what happens with the rocks. So we've got some rocks here.
Yeah. And
you can see that. I hope you saw that. I'm going to try it again.
Or dropping something in a pool of water, or hopping in the bathtub, and you get the ripple effects from the wave.
The ripple effect when you see the ripple. So yes, everything gets displaced, and the twice I stopped that, all the rocks got displaced and pushed out. But everything gets pushed out. It's just
and their frequencies. So everything's about the frequency of the connections and the collisions and the combinations, and that's when we talk about the different frequencies, when we get into meditative states or listening to particular types of meditations. There are different frequencies because they're designed to hit a different part of the chakras or whatever. Yeah, I mean, so I know with the quantum explanations and mechanics, they're looking at all these things And, even to the mind-bending parts where they're opening up different realities, potentially different timelines. This is theoretical. Lord knows if they've done that yet or not. They wouldn't tell us. But I personally I don't know if I want to know that or not yet. I meet my other self and go, oh, it's you.
You think it's possible that we can go from different timelines? The time traveler type thing.
Yep.
Do you think it's
actually possible? I do. Absolutely. Okay, so I'm going deep down the rabbit hole, not as an academic, just as a person, entertainment purposes only. I watched this particular program channel, and on it they have a lot of the people that used to be former military that were involved in Black Ops programs. And there's this one who is from Europe, which is really unusual to hear anything disclosure-based from Europe. And his job was to figure out the tactics and what different species that were non-terrarian, okay, this is drinking the Kool-Aid, guys, what their purposes were.
Mm-hmm.
And also some beings are actually time-traveling beings.
Yeah.
And he said that they actually have the technology. I don't know if this is true or not, but wow, if it is, how cool is that?
Yeah.
He said, looking at a point on time, we all have multiple timelines. We have entry and exit points, which some of you folks already know. You can pick and choose but when it's your end point, then you go over to spirit. But when you look down at the top of multiple timelines converging, this is what he says, that it looks like the tip of if you look at the top of a pine tree.
Yes.
And you see the tippity tip, and then you see all the flanged out, and they get further flanged out the further you go down the tree. That is how many timelines there are associated with any point in time based on whatever decision you make.
Wow, that is awesome.
So, yeah.
Lisa M. has said, can you live parallel lives on Earth or just one life at a time? Oh, my goodness.
Lisa, you need to be on the show. No, that's a good question.
I think that would freak me out. That would freak me out. Unless I was living a parallel life with Chris Pratt.
Oh, yeah. Well, but you'd have to share.
Sorry,
okay, Lisa Ann, let me just talk to you this way. I think that could be a possibility based on different frequencies. So at the tip of the timeline, that's a particular frequency. So it's my understanding, based on this fella, based on if he's true or not, I don't know. There's a lot of ifs in that, okay? Just as a person commenting on what he was saying, I think, yes, potentially at different frequencies. Now, remember, we're 3D.
Yeah.
We're 3D. This could be a 4D version of yourself. There could be, and this is where people get into the whole metaverse stuff, and your brain just starts melting, and you're like, oh my God. But I do think there's a possibility. Yeah, that's right, Kelsey. Yeah.
Lisa's question, and what a great question, Lisa. It just brought one of those words and one of those urban myths to mind. Doppelgangers.
Yeah.
Because if we can live parallel lives in the one lifetime,
yeah,
could it be we are seeing our doppelganger, and our doppelganger is not a person who is a copy of ourselves, but just that other version of ourselves in the parallel life? I don't know.
Well, maybe. Okay, think about the only state that we can actually not be in a 3D state as humans, and that's the dream state. Have you ever flown in your dream state? Have you ever gone through walls or visited places in time in your dream state? I think that actually can explain a lot and go some way toward an explanation of that. Because if we didn't have the dream state, I would have a hard time understanding some of this quantum stuff, I think. It's interesting that time frames are tough for tarot readers and spirit to determine because of your time. Yep, that's right, Celtic. So I agree, 3D for the 3D humans in the world, because humans are 3D. For our experience as a humanity, time is definitely part of our construct in this domain of 3D experience. Full stop. I understand as you progress to the different D's that it drops away and doesn't become necessary. But for us to have that human experience and the physicality and the soul lessons that we are in this manifestation of ourselves, that we need to have time. Yeah, that's what I understand so far anyway. But look, I'm like you all, or you find your interest and then you get hooked into it like a dog with a bone,
Yeah.
So I'm reading concurrently all these different books, and I'm just trying to make sense of those experiences I've had. And what I find is it's so cool, and that there's other people who like it as well. So that's what's even better. Yeah, because certainly I can't rock up to my office and say, "Hey, you know what I was talking about yesterday afternoon?" Yeah, that doesn't happen in my world. It's a very different universe, that one.
Well, how Celtic is saying it's because linear time doesn't exist for spirit. Well, sometimes I feel like it doesn't exist for me, because sometimes it feels like my time is like, add in a couple of extra colors here, like goes from purple to green along with the aura around me, and then from green to orange and so on and so forth till I end up back with purple again, and it's just like absolutely crazy. And sometimes I feel like time, like me, it's a series of loops.
You got that right. Oh my gosh.
There's nothing linear about the way my mind works in my time. And it's like, you got the
Yep. I do have to speak to this, everybody knows this state, and then I'll give you the name after it.
Wow.
But this also explains the non-linearity of time that we can experience sometimes, meaning it doesn't progress. It just disappears, and we're like, where did it go? Have you ever gotten so engrossed or interested or fascinated or in doing something that you lost track of time, like instantly 3 hours left, and you're like, oh my God, what happened to my day? I don't know what happened. It's called an autotelic state. There's a psychologist he's got a Hungarian surname, so I would butcher it. Csikszentmihalyi, I think. Sorry, guys, I do not have any pronunciation at all. But anyway, he describes that, and that's really a common state that many people acknowledge, Yeah, so that's normal too. So it's really funny. And what about deja vu? How does that? Clearly, we're kind of brushing against a past time period, aren't we? With deja vu, have you ever had that?
Yes, and I think I found a perfect example of it. You know how I say time isn't linear? Well, up here in this little corner here. So I did the purple first, and then I did the green, and then I did the orange, and without realizing it, all three of them intersect at one point.
Yep.
And what if the same series or a similar series of events happen at that one point, or they all experience that one series of events, but at different time along the? I mean, that's just,
Yeah. Well, or it could be that point on the top of your pine tree that we discussed, or it could be synchronicities, right?
Well, even where the branches come in and they meet.
Yeah, and they converge, and then
you go, and then you go up one branch, and then across to a branch on the same level and back down, and it meets at the same level, and it's like, wow,
Yep. Yeah. Deja vu. When I was much younger, when I was visiting a new country, creepy, I recognized the landscape around the next bend. That would be deja vu and past life, Celtic. My goodness, that would be cool. And what about the whole notion of past lives? That we reincarnate and we have some kind of vestiges of memory or feeling or shadowy something that we know we resonate somehow on a real deep level with a place. For me, I'll tell you what, mind-altering experience and body, and I was buzzing for months afterwards, was when I went to Egypt and went into the big pyramid of Cheops. That's an energy machine of some kind. I didn't know what kind it is, but wow, it was off the charts. I mean, my husband actually said, as soon as I got out of there, he's like, "Oh my God, you look like you shaved 20 years off your life," you know? Yeah. I'm like, yay, I'll take it. But, you know, seriously, it was like having a ball, like an energy. It was electric. You could feel it. Amazing.
Yeah, you were telling me about that. And
yeah,
it would have been really interesting to see. And it was such a compliment to your husband, from your husband, to say, wow, this experience has, you know, dropped 20 years.
Yeah, let's hope it stays off.
Wow. Okay. I'm just going to sit here, see if I can get back to the womb, hey? Right. I'm not making light of Anne's experience.
No, it's all good. I love it.
Something to do. And you know what? I see such a thing happen with my husband every time he picks up our little dog Whitby, puts him on his chest in his chair, and they have a cuddle.
No.
Tears just drop from James's face. And it's that sort of, and it is like they have such a deep connection. So it's that connection.
Yep.
That you
Absolutely.
have.
Yeah. And that is like, so they have discovered in the pineal gland, everybody, well, I don't know if you know about it. It's really deep, kind of in the center core of the brain. And they've actually discovered there are crystals on it.
Yeah.
And they reckon that the activation of that is what enables us to tune into that beyond 3D frequency to connect. And so with animals, you know how sentient they are, and they don't even say anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So, and they know when we're not having a good day versus a good day, you know, they know. So, and also, actually, I just saw a study yesterday. I don't know if any of you seen this. They actually figured, and this is actually science, peer-reviewed scientific research, that plants can recognize color, can recognize if somebody has a shirt and you walk past it, it can recognize it. And I don't know how they figured this out. They can actually hear, they respond to your voice. Yeah. Plants. They're sentient.
That makes sense. I mean, plants display color as a form of defense, you know, for other animals. Something that looks pretty and lovely to us and we can pick and smell and take is actually quite deadly for some animals. I just having a ball, and I could go on for hours. But you know, the thing is that so many other things have popped up. Like Celtic Sear has said, did any of you feel that the energy last week was frenetic? And she was just wondering. And how would you feel about doing some more sessions?
I would love to. I would love to join you all if you would have me, of course.
Topics that have just come to mind. Your talk of past lives popped the term into my head of genetic memory. The frenetic energy. There's so many different things. And
That's
and
good.
if you'd like to do some more, and guys, if you want to see Dr. Ann and I have a chat, and maybe even be able to invite a couple of other people, I'm a very visual person. There'll be drawings, there'll be things. Anne is quite visual. And
random experiments.
It's like Professor, I don't know, people outside of Australia might not, and possibly New Zealand, might not know who Professor Julius Sumner Miller was. He was very famous here, and he did, for a science show, and he did a series of ads for Cadbury, and you know, the egg being stuffed into the bottle type experiment and stuff like that. He was a mainstay of kids in Australia in the late 60s and in the 70s. And I remember watching him, and he was so visual and so colourful, and just kept your mind wandering. And you remind me of him.
Cool.
I mean,
Lovely.
if
That's
you
cool.
saw a picture of Professor Julius, you'd probably go, "What?"
Do I need to grow a mustache?
No, but glasses.
Okay.
He was also an American as well, but he came
Okay,
over to
cool.
Australia. So a Brooklyn accent, I think he had. But
Yeah.
but
Cool.
just I would sit and watch Professor Julius for ages,
Oh, that's
and
cool.
it's like you remind me of him, Anne, in that I can sit and listen to you
Oh, thank you. That's
talk
very
about
kind.
these things, and so if
I
you
love
want
it.
chocolate, yeah.
Yeah,
And
Cadbury's there. It's here in New Zealand for sure. Yeah.
yeah, so guys, look up. I'll type his name.
Yeah, we will. Oh, I just
And
wanted to say something. Celtic Seer says, thanks, Dr. Ann. I don't feel so alone. Awesome. You aren't alone. It's really cool to have these discussions, and the world's waking up more now. And because of the internet making geolocational issues non-existent, meaning there's a group of us right now in the world, live, present together, connecting on this topic, which is phenomenal in itself. We've got to, let's just open this conversation. Let's explore it together. It's absolutely fascinating stuff. I love it. As long as you are willing to hear me, I'm happy to show up, Chrissy. Love it. Yeah. And thanks, Shelby, Lisa, and Sherry, too. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
and,
yep.
and
Okay. Julius Sumner Miller. Okay, I'm going to look him up.
He was in Australia. So Professor Julius Sumner Miller. Now there is a story that there was an Australian actor in the first Star Wars movie. I can't remember who he is.
Okay.
Because he's a familiar face on our screen. But anyway, there is a character in the first Star Wars movie. Apparently, this is the story. I'd have to confirm it through research. That was named for Professor Julius Sumner Miller. And I think
lovely.
it might be Sumner. I'm not sure. But yeah, that is the story.
Oh,
He was
cool.
highly revered. And yeah, but yeah, so that's his name. Go and look him up, guys. You might be able to find some videos and all that, and the famous Cadbury commercial. Wonderful.
Cool.
Just a mainstay of my childhood. And when we moved from New South Wales to Queensland when I was 6. And I was supposed to go into year 2 the following year, but because my birthday was on the 31st of the last day of the year, they kept me back in year 1. And I was falling asleep in class, and so was Dennis, because he was supposed to go to year 3. That's my brother. And they kept him back in year 2. And the teacher called Mum in, and she said, "Oh, your children are lazy. They're falling asleep." And she said, "They're not lazy. They're bored. They know all this stuff. They've been taught it already. And they're smart kids. They're intelligent kids." And so, it's just like, and of course, sometimes when obvious that you're smarter than the kids around you sometimes. I'm not saying I was a genius. I was far from a genius. But we were a bit ahead because of our start, especially as we had a mum who really engaged with us and speaking and talking. It can sometimes make you a target for bullying too. Don't ever, my darlings, don't ever, ever hide your curiosity and your intelligence and your wonder at the world.
Absolutely, I agree.
Take that away from you. So don't ever let them. And even if it's been buried down, hi, Jean, at Secrets of the Red Moon, even if it's been buried down deep because of trauma, set it free. Set it free. We've got a few more people have come on. So
cool.
Go on for a little bit longer?
Sure. I have a few. Yep.
Yeah. And all my lovely lurkers and everyone who watches this, I would encourage you. Because Anne and I are planning to do some more of these. We've just decided.
Yep.
I've just decided. Anne's gone, yeah!
Party at Chrissy's channel. Woo!
And What we can do is maybe next time we can use your channel if I can help you set up live or something.
Yeah, sure. I haven't graduated to that yet. So my name, Chrissy. I've got it. Yeah, I've got this channel. You can see it here under my name. Yeah.
Some instructions on how to set up a
Yeah,
live.
that'll be good. I'd like that. Thank you. Yeah.
And it is just, and it, people want to come and join us and ask questions, because spirituality to me is about the universe.
Yes.
And how the universe impacts on each and every one of us. And the universe is science, spirituality and science do have a place next to each other.
Yeah. Yep.
And if you don't agree, well,
well, you know what happened? Okay, hang with me here, everybody. But with the industrialization, science became the religion of humanity, and spirituality was poo-pooed. Before that, there's a lot of evidence where science and spirituality could cohabitate, could live together. And there's a real excellent example of this very famous Swedish man named Edvard Swedenborg, who's written a suite of 30 books. He actually got touched by spirit. He was an industrialist in industrial Sweden ages ago, and you can look him up on YouTube. And he somehow must have gotten in touch with this guy. Something happened to him where he just came with all these breakthroughs, and he's really, at the beginning, revered by society, and slowly society, because all of his books included spirituality, departed from him, and he became kind of a whack job, or he was one of those woo-woo people, right? But people are now looking at his manuscripts, all 30 of them plus. I mean, they're huge monographs, massive books. How he's able to bring the science of both together. Yeah. So I think it's time to bring that back now that we are coming from, AI with machine learning, machine-centered AI, not human-centered AI. There's two different things, and there's different types of AI. Okay, sort of in those umbrellas.
They're not going to take over the world.
No, they aren't. And I think in the way future, and I am putting myself out on a limb here, but it does, and it depends on how it has the capacity to develop over time. I think some kind of sentience. Probably not for my lifetime, probably not my kid's lifetime, maybe sooner. I don't know. Who knows? But what does sentience mean, and how do you define it? Does it mean just think for itself and do stuff without being told to? Because most computer programs, we tell them what to do, right? Which puts us in a master-slave kind of situation with machines. And think about that. If we continue kind of that role with the sentient thing that works alongside us, there's some ethics there that we as humanity need to think very carefully about as it evolves and changes over time, I believe. I don't have any scientific data on that. It's just from different things that I've read, and I haven't written any papers on it that have been peer-reviewed or anything like that, okay? This is just my own personal opinion that I've formed at the moment. But who knows? I think it's really quite interesting. Okay, so let's see. The structure of religion will diminish in influence. Yes, I reckon the Vatican or other religious places, maybe, what's another religious place? I don't know. Any place. They will be part of human history in a beautiful way. Because, I mean, to honor and move forward, we need to honor where we've come from, right? So, it'll be a good thing.
To correcting past mistakes, which was celibate. That was a huge one. But AI, it's another term for AI is an algorithm. An algorithm is just a series of steps. If it the state of C exist, then do A. If it doesn't exist, then do D. Yeah, it's a point of decision. And AI is all about making points of decisions based on events. But it can only go so far. It can't.
And it learns from data that we give it right now. So, for example, Chat GPT that everybody's stressing about. The free version is actually working and running off of a total ripped copy. They ripped a full copy of the internet from the year 2022. Chat GTP AI engine is running off of the data that existed on the internet as of a specific date in 2022. The other versions that are out now are running, I don't know how they work it, if they work off the live internet or if they work on other successive copies. So, but, you know, have you worked with AI? I've worked with it in my capacity at my job, and boy, is that stuff pretty fascinating what you can do. You can get it.
It can be pretty fascinating. I haven't.
Yeah.
I'm not a computer programmer. And in fact, you know what? I failed 2 subjects during my whole university degree. One was mathematical statistics. I did pass statistics in the end. And the other one was spatial computations, which is writing code and everything. I had to repeat that. I got through on the second lot. I am a crap programmer. I can't even make my computer say hello world. And a 2-year-old can do. But I have part of my first master's thesis, I had to come up with a program. And of course, the very basic, the first step of AI is writing down a flow chart, which is what this is. So I created an algorithm for determining the energy rating for a hybrid house, which is a house that has both natural ventilation and artificial ventilation, such as air conditioning. So, yeah, I have in that I've come up with an algorithm to start on that. But yeah, it's just so we all come across it in different ways.
Yes, absolutely. And believe it or not, like X-rays, hello, hand in the cast, I'm fine. It's sprained, by the way. They used an AI to judge if it was broken or not.
Yeah.
So there you go. So it wasn't even a human casting an eye over it. Yeah.
You want to know what happened to Anne's arm? And it's on Grace, your conversation on Grace Space.
Yes, yes.
A conversation on Grace Space where she tells you all about what happened to her arm. She told me about it. I'm going to leave you to find it for yourself. She's got, I think, 6 or 7 conversations up, but I'm just going to say, please keep putting your conversations up. They're between 5 and 10 minutes each, and they're just fascinating. Yeah, and I love this way where, you know,
yeah.
Can
I answer to you, Sherry, on that one? There's a consortium out of Stanford University, a whole think tank about AI, and they do everything from the arts to the sciences, all human-centered AI, and they do a yearly report. And what they said is the biggest issue for AI this year are the deep fakes. I'll say that again. The deep fakes, the deep fake videos, deep fake somebody taking my image and putting it on a thing that says something really horrible, or you know what I mean? So that's the biggest thing. It's called the HAI. Yeah. So that's, look out for that this year, especially, dare I say it, with elections coming up. Especially.
But AI cannot do that on its own. It still has to be instructed by
bad actors or whatever.
Mother's basement or something like that.
For sure.
And not everyone who lives in their mother's basement is a incel or an idiot, or you know. But it is really dangerous. Yes. But it's just, I saw a comment, I think, from Shelby, was it?
Okay. I agree with you, Sherry, on that
one. Children are very perceptive. Yeah, and children are, they're sponges. They're sponges for all knowledge. And there's so many things that have come up that in this. I don't know about you, but I can think of at least 3 sessions that we could do on different subjects.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. We can read
well,
whatever articles, or if anybody has a suggestion about a topic they'd like us to explore deeper, with
yeah,
our.
please. What's your email? Do you have an email for your channel?
Yes, sentient. I'll type it in there. Sentient, SENTIENT, academic@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, um, definitely, you can email myself or you can email Anne with some suggestions. And I'm, uh, I'm thinking maybe we can do one of these a month or something like that. And if you want to come back at the start of April, and we'll organise one for the start of April.
Yeah,
Don't
for sure.
let anyone quell your curiosity about anything. And it's just, and the reason a lot of people quell the curiosity of others is because they fear losing control. Because if they can control the narrative, if they can control the doctrine, they stay in power.
Yep.
Don't let anyone ever quash your curiosity.
Yep.
Okay. What are you watching at the moment, Anne? Go from a completely
What am I watching? Like, oh gosh, let me think. Well, so sometimes I get overwhelmed with all the negativity, and I worry about my family and my friends. So I'll watch really stupid series on Netflix. Sorry, I shouldn't say stupid. Very popular. Like Love is Blind, for example, might be one of them.
Really?
So I just binge watch silly stuff. But then on top of that, then I've got 5 concurrent books I'm reading on my Kindle that all have to do with quantum. So after all that, sometimes some of them, and then I forget where I am in one, and I'm like, dang it, I should finish that one, but that one's more cool over there. So yeah, maybe I'm reading in the quantum.
On BritBox, the original British series of Ghosts. I do know that
That'd be cool.
Have made it for themselves. It is such a lovely show. It's such a funny show. And
that's good.
The first ghost, of course, is Robin, who was the Stone Age man, and with furs and everything. And it goes right through, goes from different eras and stuff. And it is so funny, and it's such a glorious show. The other thing I've been watching, and I've been watching it on Apple, so it's called The New Look. And I think I was talking to you yesterday about it. The New Look is about the designers in Paris during the Nazi occupation, Christian Dior, his role. And it's basically, it starts out, he's addressing this hall full of students at the Sorbonne. He was the first fashion designer ever to lecture at the Sorbonne. Hang on a minute. And he's asked a question, and so he starts talking about the experiences of not just him, but of Coco Chanel and Christian Louboutin, not Louboutin, Christopher, Balenciaga.
Balenciaga, yeah.
And it's got an amazing cast and stuff. And like, Christian Dior's sister was part of the French Resistance. She was captured. She was sent to a concentration camp, and she did survive the war. And it's very, very fascinating. Yes, she did. She did collaborate with the Nazis. She saved her hide by handing over a couple of people, including a very, very close friend of hers. But so it makes me rethink about Chanel.
Well, the thing that I think about is, okay, so that is that moment in history. And the whole point of learning history is to never repeat those mistakes, or to come with figure out a new outcome. And today, what's happening in the world today, similar to that right now. And we'll, I know there are lots of variables in, but my heart breaks the snail's pace that humanity seems to crawl at sometimes,
Janelle,
and yet at the same time it moves at the speed of light. So I can't figure that one out. Maybe it's a
Janelle
time thing.
closed her boutiques at the start of the occupation. Should have been at the Ritz the whole time. And she closed her boutiques, and it was supposedly as a protest against dressing Nazi women and things like that. But it's really thought that it was in retaliation because in the 20s and 30s, a lot of her workers, female workers, and there are a lot of Jewish workers as well, and two of her partners in the perfume side were Jewish. She was thought to be anti-Semitic, but a lot of her workers went on strike, demanded better conditions, and they got them. And in closing her boutiques at the start of the occupation, about 3,000 women were left without a means to make a living directly because of her closing down her boutique. And it's for the patriotic thing was just basically a cover for her being a little bit of a vindictive old hag. And I'm getting maybe it's so and she was announced when she went to Madrid by a ex-friend of hers who was very, very angry with her. But anyway, it's a fascinating series. If you have Apple, go and look at the new look called.
Cool.
Yeah. So anyway, so we've gone right from science into
random access conversations.
Anyway, my darling, we're coming up on an hour, and I could talk for ages. And
Same.
Some of these lovely subscribers will sit and listen for ages, but we all do have. Yes, they did. They were in the US during that time, and they did manage to retain control. Yeah, of the perfume, not of the boutique, but of the perfume, like Chanel No. 5 and all that. It was called Parfums Chanel, the company, and so it wasn't to do with her designs and her clothing and her accessories, but it was to do with the perfume. So anyway, and she got around the Yanks by opening up her boutique when they got in there and offering every GI a free bottle of Chanel No. 5 for their wives. Yeah.
Imagine
Anyway,
that.
I hope we will be back. Thank you, everyone, for coming and joining. I hope you enjoyed it. I love giving a different take on things, and thank you for joining me. How about we do another one next month during April? I'll
love to
sort out, I think, and we'll sort out a subject or something. There's a few that have come up, and please come and join us again for this discussion with. I think I'll just call it. And
the space in between.
And the space in between. I don't know what the next discussion is going to be, but it won't be the space in between, but it's going to be something. And we'll have to have a chat about that. Okay, everyone. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you all so much.
And thank you again, Anne. And I will end this live stream now. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you haven't, please put a like on. And if you are watching a later date, please put a comment in. Be absolutely wonderful. So thank you very much. And go and check out Dr. Anne. I've got the link to her video. And you can see her YouTube address there. So, okay, love you all, and bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Stay where you are, Missy.